Hey, what's going on, y'all? This your boy Jay Sewell. Alright, y'all, man. I told y'all I was gonna do a video about this earlier, man. With all this shit about Floyd, like I said, motherfuckers that can't seem to shut the fuck up about Floyd and his past. I just think I need to remind some of you people about other boxers who had issues outside the ring. So, with that being said, I'm going to talk about other boxers, that didn't had issues. Something that didn't happen to them outside the ring. All right, I'll start with Arturo Gatti, rest in peace. Even though Arturo Gatti unfortunately died, allegedly, he's supposed to had hung himself. But remember, the woman that he was married to, she accused him of domestic violence, said that he used to beat on her. So I don't know whether he did or whether he didn't, but pictures surfaced of her allegedly having bruises and stuff on her. So, they really didn't go in deep into that story. But, allegedly his widow said that he used to beat her. So that's just one example. Now, let's talk about Evander Holyfield. Evander Holyfield was married, but for some reason, as they say, he couldn't keep it in his pants. Evander Holyfield allegedly fathered somewhere between 2 to 3 children out of wedlock. Because, Evander Holyfield, I think, has like 12, 11, 13 children by like various women, which means he was like a notorious adulterer. I'm not really passing judgment on him, but I'm just stating the facts. This is true. Then, not to mention, there was some kind of controversy that Evander Holyfield gave away his wife prenuptial money, that he donated it to Creflo Dollar. I really don't know the ins and out of that story, but it was something that had something to do with some money that was supposed to go to his wife in a divorce settlement, and that he gave the money to Creflo Dollar, and he said it was like some kind of donation, and basically allegedly Creflo Dollar like gave the money back to Evander Holyfield when his divorce was settled. I mean, it was some kind of controversy behind it. I don't really know the ins and outs of that story, but it was something in between that to that nature. Okay, let's talk about Oscar De La Hoya. As you know, Oscar De La Hoya has had serious substance abuse issues, with primarily cocaine. Then, not to mention the cross-dressing stuff. Then, not to mention the sexual assault cases that he settled out of court, back in the early 2000s. It was a while ago. Bob Arum, if I'm not mistaken, played a role in helping Oscar sort of like keep that thing under wraps. But it's documented. Okay. Now, who else? Okay. Let's talk about Muhammad Ali. I know some Muhammad Ali fans gonna be mad, but this is fact. Yes, Muhammad Ali did some good things, man. For refusing to go into the service. Not be drafted. And that was very ballsy of him, and I respect him for that. But let's talk about the other stuff that happened to Muhammad Ali outside the ring. It seemed to me, every time Muhammad Ali got some new pussy, it seemed like he wanted to marry the new chick of the month that he met. Not to mention when he was training for his fight for George Foreman, I think in 1974, he was flat out walking with his mistress in the open. Like, it was the thing to do. People got to remember, it wasn't no, internet back then. So, a lot of times people that didn't really make a big deal out of that kind of stuff. But let that had happened right now, I guarantee you it would have been a bunch of shit behind that whole Muhammad Ali walking around with his mistress just out in the open like that. Then, not to mention the stuff with, Joe Frazier. Joe Frazier went to his grave, unfortunately, despising Muhammad Ali. because he felt Muhammad Ali never properly apologized to him for some of that stuff that he said about him. The Uncle Tom stuff and, calling him an ugly black gorilla. Whether people like it or not, Muhammad Ali was dead wrong for what he did. And people got to remember, Joe Frazier's children got teased in school about that stuff. Now, here's the problem with Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was going around calling Joe Frazier the white man's champion and Uncle Tom and an ugly black gorilla, but the people he was talking about Joe Frazier to were white. Howard Cosell going on the talk shows that they had back then. I don't know who was out back then, but he was criticizing a black man to white people. So my question is, if you want to get technical, Muhammad Ali was the real Uncle Tom. So, technically it is what it is. Then, not to mention, Joe Frazier allegedly gave Muhammad Ali money. When Muhammad Ali was like flat broke, because there was a rumor going around that the Nation of Islam was taking almost all of Muhammad Ali's money and was leaving him with next to nothing. And Joe Frazier allegedly gave Muhammad Ali some money. And I think that's why Joe Frazier was so hurt by the stuff Muhammad Ali did to him. I mean, he went to his city. And I know he was trying to promote the fight and everything, but Muhammad Ali, I've seen that footage, and Muhammad Ali went extremely overboard. And allegedly, when they had their third fight, one of Joe Frazier's kids came by, and he told one of Joe Frazier's sons, "Tell your father that I'm sorry." And the young man went back to Joe Frazier, said Ali said that he was sorry, and Joe Frazier was like, "Well, you know what? Tell him to come do it." And unfortunately, it went on for years until Joe Frazier passed away. And I do wish Muhammad Ali would have properly apologized to him, because I seen the shit myself, and it was fucked up. But that's what I'm saying. A lot of these boxers and just people that play sports in general have issues outside the ring. Manny Pacquiao, his unlimited extramarital affairs. Manny Pacquiao allegedly fathered at least 2 children out of wedlock. Manny Pacquiao is supposed to be, or used to be, a compulsive gambler and an alcoholic. So, I mean, what boxer don't have issues? And see, that's the problem. I hear these people on YouTube, they try to just talk about Floyd. Oh, Floyd's a woman beater. Well, what about these other guys? Then not to mention Riddick Bowe. He went to jail for allegedly stalking his wife or something like that, or allegedly beating her. He went to prison for that, even though he paid his debt to society just like Floyd. See, that's what I'm talking about. A lot of this shit happened before the explosion of social media. But see, me, I know about all this stuff. I don't forget a lot of this stuff. And see, this is the problem that I have with a lot of these punk-ass so-called boxing fans. When it's your guy that you like, you forget about him, you can forgive him. But when it's somebody that you don't like, you don't want to shut up about it. So that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm calling you fans out. I'm taking you to task. You can't sit up there and be pissed off at one guy about something he posted did, but you seem to overlook another guy. So that's why I like to remind people of these things that go on. I mean, you gotta be fair, man. You gotta keep it 100, man. Don't just sit up there and talk about another guy's past or something that he's supposed to have did, but did. You don't have a problem with nobody else because you don't like him. And see, that's the thing. I really try not to talk about these guys' personal lives because I don't care at the end of the day. But what I'm saying is, when you just start strictly just focusing on one guy and you ain't talking about the other guy and you trying to make excuses for him, that's where I have to take you to task on this shit. Like I keep telling you, man, I'm very informative about this boxing shit. I really am, man. I stay on my P's and Q's when it comes to this boxing shit. All I'm saying is, man, stop like just focusing on one guy's past, but then you not talking about another guy's past. That's the biggest problem that I fucking have with ESPN. You won't shut up about Floyd's past, even though this shit happened like 3 years ago. And he paid his debt to society. But yet, you don't want to talk about Manny Pacquiao's past. You don't want to talk about another guy's past. You don't want to talk about Oscar's past. But you fixated on talking about just Floyd. And that's why guys like me call the media out and say, okay, well, this has a racial element to it. But anyway, man, I just wanted to put that out, man. If you think I'm lying, research this shit yourself. I'm out.